Welcome to my garden. I came up with 11 super cute designs that you can use to make your garden feel more cozy and lively. Let me show you what I did. So number one is this little watering can over here. It's made out of chiseled tuff bricks, iron bars, and a lever. And I also put some glow lichen on top of it because I was thinking this can has probably been standing around here for a long time with water in it, and over time there's just been some algae growing in it. I actually came up with multiple variants of this design. Because we now have bars in all of the different copper variants, you can do the same thing with all the different copper colors. And I also came up with a slightly different design using a tripwire hook instead of a lever. I think the shape is really nice for a watering can, but I ended up going with a lever because I think it matches the size of the full item more, and it's just a little higher on the block. The tripwire hook sits a bit low. It works as well, but I just preferred the lever. Alright, now back to the garden. The second design I want to show off are these planters. I used jungle shelves for the outside, and on the inside, here I just used some farmlands and planted regular carrots, but for the most part, the soil is actually mud or muddy mangrove roots, and I placed a bunch of bushes on top of it to make it look like there's some different veggies growing, and I also just like the darker color of the mud because it's closer to real soil. Now on to the next design. Over here we have a plum tree. Now obviously there are no plums in Minecraft, so I used flowering azalea leaves and added them onto a small tree to make it look like there's plums growing on it. And then right under it, there's the next little design. This is one of my 2 fruit baskets that I made. I actually made this one first. So this is just a composter and 2 open fence gates on 2 sides with a little bit of carpet on top to make it look like it's filled to the brim with fruits. And I think that's a really nice little touch under these fruit trees. Alright, on to the next item. I already mentioned the apple tree, but this one and this one get their own category because they have something in common. They both have actual fruits hanging from the leaves. Now for the most part, these designs are all made in vanilla Minecraft. However, for these trees, I did use a mod, but it's so simple that I want to show you guys because you can absolutely do the same thing. So I'm using the armor statues mod, which you can get from Vanilla Tweaks. And all you have to do for that is get a book and quill, open it, write some random stuff into it, then sign and title it statues and make sure the S is capitalized. Then you sign and close, and now you get this special statues book. Now you can do a lot of very complicated stuff with this with armor stands, but I only use one super simple method that you can do as well. So all I did is I place an item frame, I put inside this item, then I get close to it so that the book knows it's targeting this item frame. You right click, click on item frames, and then you just click on invisible item frame. And there we go. Now it's invisible and you have an apple on a leaf. That's it. And then I did the same thing over here with sunflowers to make it appear like they're lemons. Now let's backtrack a little bit so I can show you guys the next super cozy design I came up with, and it's this picnic scene. We have this table which is made of beehives and wool blocks, and then I also placed some carpet on top and some white banners on the sides to make it look like it's halfway draped over this table. Then we have a pot with some flowers here and some berries, once again in an invisible item frame. And one of my favorite things about this picnic scene is how I made these pillows. The colors I picked really match the flowers and the vibe. I made sure to also give them several levels. So we have some trapdoors here with planks underneath, and then some of these are just half slabs. And then the last thing is this picnic basket, which is using a similar but slightly different design than these baskets. So this one doesn't have handles and it's 2 composters, and it has a lid which is partially open. I think that really matches the super cute picnic vibe. Moving on. Back over here we have this table with a bunch of gardening equipment. So again, I used invisible item frames and placed down some items that could look like gardening stuff. And here's a little bench. And in the back, we have a little empty pot, which is waiting for something bigger to be potted into it. Right next to it, we have some more fruit trees, but even smaller this time. I made these little orange trees with azalea leaves and resin clumps. And then there's also a few glowberries sprinkled in. And I especially like the pots I put them into. I think they look so nice as a little ensemble. Then over here we have a little outdoor kitchen. This one's pretty self-explanatory. We got a sink over here, a cutting board, and down here, I'm not super happy with this stuff. I wanted this to look like some kitchen equipment, you know, this could be some broken pots and this could be a stack of plates. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I feel like these details are some of my least favorite, but overall, I think this outdoor kitchen looks super cute, and I would definitely recommend putting this in your cozy garden build. It's very convenient that it's getting dark right now because, for one, you can see all the fireflies coming out of the firefly bushes, and they just add so much atmosphere no matter where you are or how you're using them. It looks so pretty. Let's move on to the next item. Over here we have some really pretty hanging lanterns. Now this is probably my favorite design out of everything in this garden. I used some baby chicken and golden dandelions to keep them small, and I hid them in this tree, and then I attached some leads to it, which are fastened to these fences back here. And this creates this really nice rope shape. And then I wanted some hanging lanterns. Now these lanterns, unfortunately, don't just float. They have to stand on something. So at first, I was using glass panes to hold them up, which also look cute, but with a bunch of them, you just had all these little blue squares just floating in the air. And it did look cute, but I thought this can be improved. And so I thought, why don't I just use the chains in the same color and make it look like little ribbons hanging off of the lanterns? And so that's what I settled on. And by the way, I could have put these chickens on the other side and tied these ropes up to a fence post in there, but I decided to leave them in the tree because they have pretty much the same color as my lemons. And as a bonus, the noises they make provide a lot of, they make a lot of cute noises, which really adds something to this atmosphere. I used the same method over here, and for this one, I did actually put the chicken on the outside of the wall, and the leads are tied up to one of the branches inside the tree. Now we're almost done with these designs, but before I get to the last thing, here's an honorable mention. This super cute chair. This is not my design, and I will put a link to the original creator into the description. So it's a working Nautilus chair. You click on it, and then you can just sit like this. Isn't this so cute? I think this is also perfect for a cozy garden. Alright, but now let's get to our last item, which is this entire wall. I know this might seem a bit anticlimactic because it looks like a very simple wall design, but let me explain. So this wall uses a gradient of planks and stripped logs. You can see it better in the back. And on the other side, I just placed a bunch of oak trapdoors over it. Now the reason I think this is notable is because some of the designs I made are placed way too close to the wall to make sense. You can see over here that these trapdoors have been placed from my side, meaning that nothing can be placed anymore on these two blocks. But over here, these planters are also using trapdoors or shelves, which are using those blocks. So the trick here is that I took out the trapdoor that would have been here, and also the block right behind it. So there's a little hole now. And then from the other side, you can see it poking out here. This is what it would have looked like before I did this trick. And so I would take out this block, of course, and this one. So I put some wood underneath it and then a trapdoor from this side. And if you flip it up, it looks pretty similar to all the other trapdoors. But then to make sure that none of the grass or moss shines through, you put some wood here. And now it's covered up. And if you look at it from a little further away, you really can't see it. It's so subtle, and I just love how this little trick allows us to build so much closer to the wall. I used it on these planters, but I also used it on these corners, and even with one of the pieces of grass over here. Alright, that was it. Those were my 10 plus build ideas for a super cozy garden. I hope you found them useful, and maybe you can even use them in some of your own builds. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and a nice comment would really make my day. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss other videos like this. See you in the next one. Bye bye!